Pastor mentioned about the deacon board, the mother's board, but those same deacons and those same mothers can't be telling people this foolishness either.
And I love the fact that I think it was Pastor Adam that called it out. We discount the verbal abuses because we stack it up against the physical abuse.
Right.
And so when it hasn't got to that point, but then I've known cases, and many of you probably do as well, where the person was silent, the person did endure the verbal abuse, and then that person committed suicide.
Yeah. They got to a sense of hopelessness and a loss of self-worth.
Right.
So I think that it's important that the courage is given, and the church. I think the church has to have a voice in this too, because the church is not absolved from failing marriages. We're at a 50% rate, just like the rest of the world. And so I think the church needs to also, what are your thoughts about that? What is the church role in cultivating, or providing an environment that fosters and cultivates how to have healthy marriages?
Who are you going to?
PJ.
Okay. I believe that we've got a vital role in it. First of all, because marriage is an institution that was created by God.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if we are his mouthpiece in the earth right now, then we should not be silent in this all important matter.
Right.
I believe that the parameters for marriage are not governmental parameters for marriage. The parameters for marriage are spiritual parameters for marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that as God's spokespersons in the earth, it falls to us to make sure that we are teaching both men and women the proper way to relate to one another in a marital relationship.
Yeah.
And what
that's that.
No, he wasn't finished.
Go ahead.
No,
I said, go ahead.
You see how you do me?
You had a great pause. It was a great pregnant pause, and I was like, okay, I was waiting.
But just this last part. I believe that the church has a responsibility in the areas of accountability. This is where the fellowship of the church and the discipleship of the church become very important in the relationships that get formed. The men's ministry, the women's ministry, the mother's board, the deacons' boards, all of these things become instrumental at this point now, because it becomes the responsibility of the men in the church now to be able to go to the man who is either dealing with abuse or being abusive, and say, hey, brother, this is what we're hearing.
Right.
How are we going to fix this?
Yeah.
What are the steps? And we're going to hold you accountable to it. Yes, we're going to get in your business. Stay out of married folk business. No. Not in this particular case, because this case here ends up in a cemetery.
Right.
And so we're going to get involved in your marriage so we don't have to go buy a plot in the cemetery.
Right.
And the same thing with the women as well, that the women of the church have a responsibility to talk to the women. Listen, why are you so angry? Don't talk to your husband like that. Don't treat your man that way. This is not the right way to do this kind of thing. And to hold her accountable also, so that they can have a healthy and safe marriage through proper relationship and proper biblical counsel.
Yeah, I mean, that's so important, because I'm sitting there thinking about the same exact thing about what do you do if you see something that is abnormal within somebody's relationship? That there ought to be a system and a level of accountability within our relationships. And I'll even expand it even further. I know we're talking about the church, but I'm also talking about families as well, in terms of what families that we're connected to. That I also should feel a sense of responsibility for my brothers and for my sisters who I see are hurting. And not be afraid to at least ask a question or want to get involved. Because I think nowadays we're living in a society where we don't want others to interfere. We don't want anybody else in our business. But if you're hurting, then it is my business to get you to not hurt anymore. And I think particularly for the church, that we have to take a stand where we're going to say, hey, you know what? We can no longer tolerate abuse within the pews. This is not going to fly anymore. You know what I'm saying? And we need to be able to take a stand and be able to say, okay, you know what? I'm willing to take whatever dart you're going to throw at me in order to secure your own personal welfare so you don't die in this relationship.
That's good. That's really good.
Yeah.
Minister Thurman.
Yes, in agreement. The church can't be complicit. Come
Yeah.
on, y'all.
Yeah.
We can't be complicit and stand by. Just a little personal to me because Pastor mentioned about the deacon board, the mother's board, but those same deacons and those same mothers can't be telling people this foolishness either.
Right.
That the Bible said you got to stay and you can't, and then somebody's beating you
Not
upside
doing
your head. So we want to make sure when we get in that godly counsel that we got folk who know what they're talking about.
Mhm.
Come on.
Yeah.
Who's not going to put them in dire situation. I make this personal, guys, because a close friend of mine who's no longer here, he was killed, but his mom and dad, his dad killed his mom,
Mm.
called the mother and said, get that black dress ready. Went on a Navy base, killed her and killed himself.
Wow.
But you had, and keep in mind now, this in the 80s.
Okay.
So you have folk in the church.
Mhm.
I don't care what's going on. You don't get a divorce. You don't leave.
Wow.
So we got to make sure that we're not complicit, and more importantly, that we got people in there who are knowledgeable,
Right.
who are telling people, actually, God, I know we ascribe everything to godly counsel. No, I'm talking about godly counsel.
Right.
We're going to tell people what's right, and not because we took in scripture out of context,
Right.
and we keep people in a volatile situation where people end up being killed. I've seen it.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
It is not gospel that any man shall perish. And so, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree with you. I've had so much experience with the domestic abuse thing in terms of talking to people about it, seeing it growing up with my sister and her boyfriend at the time, or fiance at the time, and jumping in, trying to be the big brother, and then seeing her go back to an abusive situation.
Yeah, there's that too.
Yeah.
You know, there's awareness. The church definitely has the responsibility to raise awareness and to cultivate of here's where you can get help, you know, type of environment. But there's got to be a consciousness and an awareness to know that you're in an abusive relationship. And I think Pastor Adam said earlier, sometimes because it's not this, it's discounted or tolerated, and until it escalates to the point where other people know. And I think Pastor John said this too. We would call certain things fighting, but until someone gets upset about a petty situation, then a lot of times the police are called.
Mhm.
Because not necessarily because the physical piece of it, but because they're emotionally rocked, or there's something that upset them. Now they want to solicit, police and things of that nature in the situation. And to me, that is abuse in itself as well, because now you've got the children involved, and now you got, defaming someone, putting them in a situation where you're challenging their character. So I think that's abuse in itself as well, because I've heard people a million times, I'll call the police on you if you don't do what I asked you to do, or if you don't do this. I've heard people make up stories in
Sure.
terms of abuse stories, right? And cost people their livelihood holding on to that lie. And so,
Hey guys, it's Pastor John here. Please, if you like this video that you just saw, hit that like button for us. Second thing I want to ask you to do is to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We're putting out videos once a day at about 5:30 p.m. Hit that bell notification so that you'll know when a new video has been uploaded. And then the final thing to do, share this video, share this information. If you know somebody that has a need that it can be benefited by it, please put it out in circulation so that we can try to help as many people as possible. Thanks, and God bless.